the Philadelphia Eagles have a unique play. It's their aluminum bat. It's called the Tush Push. People are not thrilled with the Tush Push. They're not happy that the play still exists, except for, of course, Sean Payton, who's the head coach of the Denver Broncos, who are taking on the Philadelphia Eagles this weekend. And Sean Payton said this about the play.
I was one that stood up in favor of. The reason I stood up in favor of is pretty simple. If the powers to be don't want it for aesthetic reasons or competitive reasons, or it's hard to officiate, etc. But I've been involved in those meetings for a long time, and when all of a sudden health and safety was pulled into that, which might be the safest play in football, my bull nose kind of went up. Look, it's a quarterback sneak. As long as the line of scrimmage is clean, it's a well-run quarterback sneak.
So that was Sean Payton on the Orange and Blue podcast talking about the Tush Push.
But this is an apples to oranges comparison. No one's ever had an issue with the quarterback sneak because you weren't aiding the runner. There was no one who was pushing the runner forward, which was why the rule was illegal in the first place. So I just want to be clear on this. There was a rule. And the only reason, and we talked to Dean Blandino about this, the only reason it's not still a rule is because they didn't feel like they could officiate it. Which, at this point, now we're hearing that about the Tush Push, that they don't feel like they can properly officiate it because of whether it's a false start or other issues within that. Now you're hearing that murmur come out. I would take issue with the fact that it's a safe play. I do feel like there will be a neck injury that happens at some point, whether that's the defensive player trying to stop it or an offensive player with the angles at which they strike the person across from them. And then the last thing I'll just say is we can't officiate it now. We have enough cameras. We have enough angles to sit there and say that we can't officiate the aiding or pushing of a runner is BS. Like, that was the rule 20 plus years ago. And they did away with it because of that. Now, that's not the case. So I don't know. Like, here's my thing is, I really don't have a dog in the fight. Like, if it stays a part of football, fine. I don't love it as a football play. It doesn't look like a football play. It feels like a rugby play. It feels like kind of a ho-hum, are we going to watch this, do this again? And the quarterback sneak was always fine. It was always fine. There was nothing wrong with it. It was more of an enticing play when it happened because sometimes they got it, sometimes they didn't. This has become so dominant that now it's almost like, we know they're going to get it, so let's just move on to the next play. There is that element of all this. But here's what I want to do. I want to take a vote. Like, is there anyone who's like staunchly on our show against this?
I'm against pushing. And I've told you guys that. Like,
yeah, which for safety reasons too, right?
Yeah. And not, to me, it's more egregious on other plays than it is on the Tush Push. It is, because you have guys that are getting stood up by defenders, and these offensive linemen think it's okay to run 20 yards and hit not only their guy or hit the defender, but they're hitting their own guy to push their guy forward 2-3 yards. It might be the difference between a first down and being fourth down and a yard or something like that. But you're running into your own players to aid them going forward. That's, to me, the pushing aspect of it is the most egregious aspect of it for competitive reasons. Not for, to me, I don't even, yes, safety comes into play, but let's just take a second here and think about the idea of if your forward progress is stopped, the play is over. It's over. So to me, if a guy can run up when your forward progress is stopped and then they come and hit you and they aid you going forward, to me, that's cheating. That's not football. And I don't like to see that.
To that point, though, there also is the element of, like, when is forward progress stopped?
When is it stopped? Sure.
Like, there's an element to the play of which, we've seen times where the runners stopped, the defense has stopped him, and then a lineman comes from behind and shoves him forward. And again, it's not
stays up.
the tush push play, but he stays up. He gets another 3, 4, 5 yards. Or they're like, oh, what a second effort. It's like, well, it's not him. It's the 3 guys behind him pushing him. And you look at that and you just go, is that easy to officiate? I mean, again, before the tush push became something that was utilized, even those plays, they would have been like, no, his forward progress was stopped. Now all that stuff continues.
You would stop those guys from doing that BS if you made it illegal again. Like, stop making it okay for these big-ass offensive linemen to go running towards the pals like that.
I'm indifferent on it. I think it's going to be gone next year. I think they're already setting the table to get rid of it. It's difficult to officiate all that. I'm indifferent on the whole thing. If they want to keep it, fine. Get rid of it, that's fine. My favorite part though is when people say, "Well, Jalen Hurts. I mean, he squats 600 pounds. That's why they're so much better at it than ever." All right, so if that's the case, why can't he just do a quarterback sneak? Why does he need 3 guys to push him from behind?
That's correct.
Like, it just, I think that Nick Sirianni knows. That's why he's probably busting out all these plays that he's got, these counters to it, and he's talking about how exciting the play is like he was on Monday, being a wise ass about the whole thing. I think he knows it's probably going to be gone, and then they're just going to have to go back to the quarterback sneak. And they're probably going to be, if not as successful, pretty close to as successful at picking up that extra yard as they would now.
And maybe that's why they're starting to show you the different variations of what they can do now that they've gotten people convinced you can't stop the tush push. So now they've added wrinkles to the play itself. My biggest question would be, if you do away with the tush push, what are the rules that do away with it? Because you could still have a variation of what the tush push represents, right? Like, say, for instance, okay, you can't push the ball carrier, right? But what if you put if this is me, I'm like, okay, here's my cheat code to it, and let you push this out as well. I'm going to have one of my offensive linemen switch to, like, the Refrigerator Perry or Warren Sapp, whatever. I'm going to put them in the gap that we're going to run towards, and I'm going to say, blow that gap open. Push the guard or push the center or push the tackle, whatever it may be. Blow that gap open, and our quarterback is going to get behind you and push behind the fullback. The fullback is going to be the pusher, and now the quarterback gets behind. And listen, does it in theory work out that way if they were to run it? I don't know. I mean, but I know you can line up your fullback as close to the ball as you like. So if you're going to try to create a variation, where does the rule stop? Is it just no pushing? Like, for instance, you can't aid and push a defender through the field goal line. You can't do it. You can't drive a guy over top of the center. That's a rule. Are you gonna ban pushing, or are you going to ban aiding the runner? Like, because in that scenario, you could still kind of buck the system and say, okay, we're just going to put a big guy up on the line of scrimmage that is a fullback, and he's going to push, and that's where the quarterback is going to go push. And I don't care if you know that it's coming there, you're not going to be able to stop it. If that quarterback can get behind that blocker who's going to aid the line of scrimmage, and that quarterback gets behind him, you're not stopping that for a yard's gain, 1.5 yards, maybe 2 yards. You're not stopping it. So I don't know how the rule would read out. How would it be defined in terms of what you're able to do and what you're not able to do? That's what they're going to have to be clear on if they're going to get rid of the play, because you can still find variations of it.
Didn't Tampa sign that big dude? What's from Florida? Why am I blanking on his name?
Desmond Watson, I believe is his name.
Did he even play last week? Was that wasn't that supposed to be their counter? I don't think he played. Yeah. So, Nick Sirianni's out there like, all right, you guys want to play that game? That's fine. We'll just run a couple of counters off this, and have a good time with the whole thing. It is kind of wild that play has generated as much of as much of a heated conversation one way or the other. That you got, Jeffrey Lurie dropping gems in the owners' meeting that people were offended by. Like, it just the whole thing is mind-boggling.
You know what bothers me a little bit about it though is it's kind of taken away the fullback dive. We used to have fullbacks, and they were in there for short yardage, not only to blow someone up, but sometimes you give them the football too, give them a little bit of love. Then they barrel their way through, those big, extra big shoulder pads, like a neck roll. It's kind of done away with it a little bit. Where like those guys now, they're out, they're walking around. I'm not sure what they're doing for a job. I mean, maybe they're a finance bro, maybe they're doing some hard labor somewhere else, some construction. They got a jackhammer. They're taking all their frustrations out because they weren't given the opportunity to stay in the league as a fullback with no neck.
That's a good point.
Just absolutely yoked out of their mind. Great athlete. Just no appreciation for the fact that they're so jacked up they can't raise their hands above their shoulders.
No.
If you're throwing to them out of the backfield, you got to put that thing right in the breadbasket. If it's anywhere eye level, that's a risk. It's probably a drop. As a quarterback, you knew that. Like a fullback out of the backfield, you're like, oof, small catch radius here, man. Especially for those guys who are really yoked up like that. But think about back in the day. Lorenzo Neal.
Yeah.
Guys who would just knock you cross-eyed. And those guys, like they're not really around anymore. Like the death of the fullback also, I think, has played a part in this. It's led us to short yardage plays where we had to get all creative. We had to Superman that hoe. We had to do all that to push them across for the first down. I wish we had fullbacks back. I think America was better when we had fullbacks.
I would agree, and there's I don't think it's just a coincidence that the Ravens have struggled and Patrick Ricard hasn't played this year. I don't think, like he's not been in the lineup. He's doing like a calf issue or something like that.
God, man, what a gigantic athletic specimen.